Okay, big day today. Gonna be making a Trisket. It's a tri-tip cooked just like a brisket, seasoned, smoked, and then we're gonna wrap it up back into the smoker to finish it off. This is Rich, and this is RACZ Barbecue and Grill. Let's get cooking. All right, so we're gonna get started. Today, I'm going to be doing a tri-tip. Over on the West Coast, I think it's most commonly called a Santa Maria cut. We're going to do this differently than we usually would. Usually we'd smoke it for an hour or so, get it within about 20 degrees of our finish temperature, and then throw a sear on it. This time, we're gonna cook this thing like a brisket, affectionately called a Trisket, tri-tip brisket. If you've never dealt with a tri-tip before, it has grain that runs in two different directions here. So you just gotta keep that in mind when you're slicing it, if that kind of thing matters to you when you slice it. You wanna slice against the grain, obviously. Just like any cut of meat, we wanna get off any of this hard fat, any silver skin that we see, because that stuff is just not gonna render down. And sometimes when you buy these, they actually have a fat cap on them. If you have a fat cap and you're going to cook it like a brisket, go ahead and leave that fat cap on. Trim it down a little bit, but fat's flavor, right? So don't worry about the fat cap when you're doing it this way. A little piece of fat in the center here. Just get that out of there. All right, doesn't have to be perfect, that looks good. So the next thing we're going to do is I have some beef tallow here, and I'm just going to inject it with the beef tallow. I like to go with the grain. Like I said, it goes two different ways here, so you gotta kind of watch. And as you're squeezing, kind of pull back out. We're gonna hit this thing about every inch or so. And you see it bubbling up there. Since it is a little bit leaner cut than your traditional brisket, that's why I like to inject it with beef tallow, or even a beef broth would work too. Just to help the flavor, to help with keeping it moist. Like I said, about every inch. You can see that beef tallow is already starting to solidify on us, but that's fine. Okay, now that we're injected, we are going to use Bullshine from Grilling with Shine, part of our competition collaboration here today. So this is for steak, any kind of beef basically. Not gonna use a binder because this is kind of wet as it is, so it'll stick just fine. I'm gonna make sure we get all the sides. Flip it over, repeat on the back side. I have the RecTech bowl preheated at 235 degrees, and we're just gonna throw this on. So into the smoker. I'm gonna leave the thinner part towards the left because this tends to be the hotter side over here on the right. Get our probe in place. And we're just gonna let that run to about 160 degrees. Okay, the tri-tip just hit 160 degrees, so we're gonna pull it out, wrap it up in some butcher paper. She's already looking great. Okay, before we wrap this thing, we're just gonna drizzle some more beef tallow right over the top of it. Wrap it up nice and tight. And then back into the smoker until we hit about 200 degrees. All right, the tri-tip, a.k.a. Trisket, is just at 198. I'm gonna pull it out, and we're gonna wanna let this rest for about 20 minutes before we unwrap it and slice into it. All right, so we've been resting for 20 minutes. It's time to unwrap this thing, see what we end up with. Let some of that juice drip out. This thing looks and smells amazing. All right, so we're gonna cut into it. Like I was saying before, the grain runs in two different directions on these. So right about in the middle and the tip, you can see it. We'll just go right down. Look at that smoke ring. Turn this on the side. Let's get some slices off of this. I mean, look at all that juice. This stuff smells incredible. Just like a brisket, and you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that could tell the difference. All right, enough talking. Look at that. Supposed to do the bend test, right? This stuff is phenomenal, man. And you know, the other good thing about using a tri-tip and doing it like a brisket, if you're just getting started in barbecuing and wanting to try a brisket, they can be expensive. These things can be a third of the price, right? So if you want to practice, but you don't want to spend the money for a whole packer, grab a tri-tip. Tri-tip comes up good and you got it. Go get yourself that full packer. This stuff is awesome, man. So there you have it. Tri-tip, cook like a brisket, AKA a Trisket. You gotta give this one a shot, man. This thing is absolutely delicious. As always, thanks for watching. Appreciate everybody's time. Hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. Hit that thanks button if you feel like it. Until next time, we'll see you on the next video.